most likely, the eosinophil. Increase when there's parasitic infections like worms. And we talk about worms, and Brett and Brett and James, do y'all know what the enterobus is? Enterobus vermicularis? Pinworm. Good job. You got that one right. All right. Enterobus vermicularis. If your child is infected with pinworms, then the eosinophil count might be up. Okay? All right, so there's the parasitic worms and stress. We try to stay away from stress, you know. Just exercise. That'll reduce your stress level, okay? All right, stress level will go down. All right, these eosinophils stain red on with dyes like eosin. Okay, so much for that. Basophils, I like basophils. Basophils produce a substance called heparin. What is heparin? Anybody know what heparin is? Come on, y'all, what is it? What is heparin? All right, heparin is old folks would call it a blood thinner. Well, now, what's the common term for? What's the real term for a blood thinner? Blood thinner. Kimberly, you know that. What's the term for a blood thinner?
Anticoagulant.
And you got it. You got it. Anticoagulant. What are heart patients advised many times to take? Coumadin. Have you ever heard of Coumadin? Coumadin is like rat poison. Warfarin. Coumadin interferes with the vitamin, interferes with vitamin K. It doesn't allow the production of prothrombin by the liver. That's what Coumadin does. So a person taking Coumadin will have to have a PT test, prothrombin time, done usually every week or so, to see if your blood's clotting like it should. Coumadin. Coumadin's dangerous. Don't ever take too much Coumadin. Oh God, don't take too much Coumadin. And you won't take it unless you have a heart condition and you have AFib or something like that. We'll get to that later on. All right, basophils stain purple with dyes such as methylene blue, liberate heparin and histamine. Histamine, we'll talk about the histaminic effect, especially in microbiology. All right, but there's heparin. Heparin is a blood thinner, and I don't like the word blood thinner, but you remember it. That's anticoagulant. Okay, basophils, so much for those. And right there, that one is a polymorphonuclear right there. And actually you can see what these things are by doing this and ending the show. And I have on the little deal, I have right here, see there's a neutrophil. And if we move on down over here, that's a neutrophil, polymorphonuclear. And the next one is that one right there is a basophil. It's another granular, has granules in the cytoplasm. And then we have down here, we mentioned, for example, the agranular. The agranular one would be like, and I put it on the big screen again. Agranular would be like, it would be like, if it would come on down with this, agranular would be like the monocytes, all right, largest. They arrive in large numbers at an infection site and so forth, formed in the bone marrow, monocytes, and are capable of amoeboid movement and so forth, monocytes. Okay, leave the blood. Now, that term macrophage, the key place of origin for macrophages is from a monocyte. Just keep that in mind, kind of highlight that right there. A macrophage, the key source for macrophages would be, and they can be wandering macrophages or fixed macrophages. A fixed macrophage is like the Kupffer cell in the liver sinusoids. They can be wandering or fixed. But the key thing is, these macrophages like this, most of them are derived from monocytes, that white blood cell. Okay, so that kind of gives you an idea. A high monocyte count generally indicates a chronic infection. What does chronic mean? Kind of severe, ongoing, isn't it? Ongoing, there you go. A chronic type situation, an ongoing situation, a chronic infection such as tuberculosis. What organism causes tuberculosis? I almost said it. Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Is it gram-positive or gram-negative? Gram-positive. Good. Okay, y'all remember something. All right, lymphocytes. Lymphocytes. 20 to 25% would be the lymphocyte. We've talked about the lymphocyte. I've got another diagram to show you. about the lymphocytes on the next slide stuff, about the lymphocytes. Now, what did we say about the lymphocytes? What do y'all remember about lymphocytes? What do you remember about them? What do you remember about the lymphocytes? All right, immunity. Okay, she said T. You said what? immunity, and she said T, you said B. B cells, B lymphocytes. Which one gives rise to plasma cells? B cells give rise to plasma. What do plasma cells give rise to? Antibodies, good. All right, and the T cells give rise to, of course, the helper T. You know, the T, what are the classifications of T cells? Helper T, killer T, the memory, there's one called suppressor. There's a whole bunch of the T cells. And which one is the cell-mediated immunity? T cells. All right, and the antibodies are humoral immunity. All right, so the lymphocytes, and that's the key thing we'll come back and mention a little bit later, are infects. These lymphocytes will increase, and you don't need to remember that because there's overlapping in some leukemias, but I just have that like that. Involved in the production of antibodies and T cells. That's the lymphocytes. We got to have those things working for us. The antibodies, there it is right there. Antibodies, humoral immunity, B cells become plasma cells, which in turn produce antibodies. Cell-mediated T cells, programmed where? Thymus gland. Okay, so there, and this is what I put in for you today. I put this in for you today. I showed this same thing in microbiology, the same slide. In fact, I copied it and pasted it from the micro lecture. And so right here, there's a lymphocyte stem cell, lymphoblast or whatever. In other words, we have right here on this thing, the lymphoblast. There's the lymphoblast. That would be a lymphocyte stem cell would actually be a lymphoblast. So a lymphocyte stem cell, lymphoblast gives rise to a lymphocyte. The lymphocytes, there is the one that mature in the thymus gland. They produce the T cells, activated. They produce, there's the helper, suppressor, killer, hypersensitivity, whatever. Over here, mature in the bone marrow activating, plasma cell, antibodies, humoral immunity. So they're the T cells right there. I mean, that's the lymphocyte. There it is.